Good morning. It's Daddy. I wanted to do a longer form video. I don't know how long it's going to be. It's my take. My take on Epstein. Now, if you know anything about Watergate, you have to uh, follow the money. I forget. Mark something was the actual informant. Mark Felt. Um, when you have any type of corruption, you follow the money. Now you have to have access to follow the money. But this guy, according to newspapers, was a financier. But there's no record of any trading. And his wealth was like not documented. So how does he get an island? When was this started? How long did it last? Why did it end? Well, there are actual people who are now adults who are subjected to this horrific. It's almost like it's a something you wouldn't, that Hollywood wouldn't even allow to be scripted and sold and produced, and a film being made. I suppose you could do a documentary, but, and I know I'm jumping around here, but the list doesn't exist. There is no list. And if you listen to, they've all come out of the woodwork in the past couple weeks. All the people who have seen, I know that, I think the guy that represented Klaus von Bülow, the guy that's always on Fox, it used to be Dershowitz, saw the list, then he didn't see the list. Knew the names, but then they were redacted. If there's ever a list, like a handwritten list of John Smith and Pete whatever, it'll have, and back in the olden days before you had the internet, speech impediment, before you had the internet, what they would do if you committed a crime and you had it expunged, they would say that your name, say your name is Smith. What they would do is they would take an indelible marker. This is how it was written. They would take an indelible marker, cover it up, and you could see all the details before and after, but the name would be omitted, redacted. Like the JFK files, or anything that's sensitive to the intelligence community. All these Operation Mongoose with failed Cuban coup, or anything that would expose an individual is eliminated. Now, the only people that know they're on the list are the people that are actually redacted. But this is a real thing that started probably early 2000s, was probably constructed in the 90s. There's plenty of clips of the president with Epstein. Lots of famous people seen with him in social circles. But I really think that when you follow the money, you go into either ultra wealthy people and somehow finagle the, I don't even know how you, if you buy an island I don't know who sells islands. I don't know who owns islands. Um, there are too many things that are now coming up that lend me to believe that. I mean, there's names, and I don't want to say the names because it's out there if you look at it. But there's some early people, perhaps that he influenced. Say he. That's why the mafia has made men. You have to commit a murder. If you don't have any dirt on you, nobody will trust you. That's just kind of like the way it works. So let's say that guy gets some wealthy individual and introduces them to uh, a place where he can exploit whatever and live his freakish life and then go back home. Well, if you have an island, man, you got to have like a fucking runway, and you got to have planes, and you got to have a population on the island that controls shipments to and from. So the money is either from individuals or a group of individuals. It's not from Epstein. He didn't have any money. I mean, I think his wealth was probably, I don't know, 50 million, 60 million, 70 million. I don't know if it was ever, it wasn't 100 million, and certainly wasn't a billion, but there are plenty of people out there who were billionaires, older people who were billionaires. And since it was probably constructed pre-internet, um, there wasn't a whole lot of there wasn't a whole lot of it was insulated. It was compartmentalized. There wasn't really anywhere where anybody asked any questions. So you figure if you start this and say, I don't know, 92, 93, 94, you got dial up and you got broadband, it was easy to transport individuals, kidnap them, whatever. I mean, it's terrible. It's horrible. But it was done by people who had immense amounts of wealth. Otherwise, you can't make it work. And this has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. But there have been actors who were really, really wealthy, and they would buy an island. And they realize they're like, shit, man, this requires so much upkeep. It's just, I can't do it. So they give up on it. So you have a wealthy individual and then more people with as the information becomes more accessible or more leaks begin to um, surface. See, anybody with a lot of money can have sex with anybody they want, but they can't keep them from talking about it after it happens. Say I'm a billionaire and I get some underage person to do something. Well, shit, man, that's a risk because they're going to talk, and I'm going to go to prison for the rest of my life. But if there are no witnesses, and if every witness is guilty, nobody going to say anything. So in around, let's just say 2000, for example, you might have to get some sort of political or government involvement. So you have um, I don't want to say you have a former president, but let's say you had a former high-powered, influential person. I spit again, so you know it's me. Say you have a high-powered individual who knows lots of people in Washington, for example. they can make things disappear. Intelligence agencies, the FBI. Today, Trump fired Comey's daughter, who prosecuted, had something to do with Epstein. And it's a bad look. And it's hard to make this sequential because it's completely off the cuff. And nobody's going to look at this anyway. So, if you've gone this far, thank you. I always say that. I get 10 minutes into it. So let's say you get around 2000, and these kids now are in their 20s, 30 probably. And there's pressure from people to release information. Well, there will never be anybody fingered. There's all kinds of distractions you'll see. I mean, two weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, didn't we bomb Iran? I've already forgotten about that because that's not sensational. Sandusky, remember him? Yeah, remember that that monster up in Michigan State, the doctor that was doing pelvic floor exams for gymnastics girls. He should have gotten the death penalty, but I don't think they could. These things just they pass on. But when you still have information that can be used to influence, then it becomes relevant again. And during the campaign, he talked about Epstein, talked about JFK, talked about whatever. Well, now he's done a complete 180, and now he's doesn't want anything to do with it. It doesn't even mean he's guilty. Just because you know someone, just because I knew a serial killer, doesn't mean that I'm a serial killer. Doesn't mean he's guilty of anything. And certainly it looks bad. But when you might know individuals who are guilty, let's say you get a phone call in the middle of the night saying, hey, you can't really go any further with this because of this or this person here. This person here who's beyond reproach. If anything were to be said about him, or I guess maybe her, um, you're gonna have problems. So let's go into the 2000s, and then let's think. Well, maybe it's not individuals with money. Maybe it's individuals with money, or maybe it's an individual who is associated with some type of government agency. Let's say it's funded by, and I'm gonna say this. Well, let's say the Israeli intelligence service is the finest in the world because they have Jewish populations all over the planet. They have been. They also don't forget Mossad is uh, very influential, and let's say that a foreign intelligence agency were to, I don't know, fund a guy. There'd be no trace of any money, um, because there's been plenty of foreign governments who have had guys who have been planted in countries who, under deep cover, was somebody they didn't say that they were. It was an agent, and they went and lived, and then they got somebody else involved in another country, and they had to shut them up because of their sexual perversions. These things have been documented. There's a guy from Argentina who went to live in the Middle East somewhere, and he's an operative of Mossad. And these are things that I've pieced together over the past few years. And if I'm nobody, right? Well, the people aren't asking the right questions. They don't think we're dumb, but they know we're powerless. Now, bringing someone to justice would require a whole hell of a lot of stuff to happen in sequence, and it would have to happen exactly the same. I mean, it can either just I don't know what law. I'm not an attorney. I don't know laws. I don't even know how you would approach prosecuting this. But if there's nothing there, there's nothing there. It's all rumor. Where there's smoke, there's fire. It's not what you know. It's what you can prove. And when you get supporters of Trump who are coming out of the woodwork and big time supporters, bigly, and they're like, man, this isn't right, man. Something's not right about this. This is not right. He said he would do it. Now he's not going to do it. Now I voted for him twice. Campaigned for him. Now he's not going to do it. Well, I don't think there's anything to do because I don't think there's anything there that would finger anyone in particular. I don't think there's anybody shaking in their boots right now. But if you follow the money and you think about wealthy people, I'm talking billionaires, five figure, or how many's a billion? So we got, hang on, so we got there's a million. Okay, so there's one there. Okay, so that's 100 million. And then let's get, say you get 100, that would be $100 billion. A few people on the planet with 100 billion. I won't say the names. There's a few people who have, I don't know, midlife crisis, got a divorce. It takes planes to get people there. They have to have flight logs. There's runways in certain parts of the country that politicians have used for decades for malfeasance. I'm not even going to get into that because that actually gives me the chills. It's spooky because it's been documented, but nothing was ever done about it because they can't, because they know they'll wind up dead. It's the same thing as the Kennedy assassination. The people that knew stuff would suffer mysterious, and this is something I do know a lot about. I read all 26 volumes of the fucking Warren Commission, so I have some credibility when it comes to this. But all the key witnesses, either died of mysterious causes or, died of mysterious causes or committed suicide when they couldn't commit suicide. Kind of like Epstein. And he made a phone call 20 minutes prior to the last check in the cell. They patched him through. And this is all in the prison records of where he was being held in New York. It was a 646 number that they called, but then he talked to a gentleman, and the guy who was listening in on the phone call, and it was not an authorized phone call because it didn't go through proper channels, but it lasted for 20 minutes before he committed suicide overnight. He makes a 20-minute phone call, and the guy wouldn't be just a regular CO. It would be somebody who could get somebody into make like an attorney, where you have a private line to an attorney. So he was making a personal call on a private line that was designated just for attorneys. So that in and of itself is a breakdown. But let's say you say, I need to, call John Smith over here, whatever, and then he overhears him talking to John Smith for about 30 seconds, and all of a sudden, at the end of the conversation, he tells some woman that he loves her and whatever. Well, if you follow the phone pattern, it was like it was in into Manhattan, but somehow got patched overseas. That doesn't sound like a guy getting ready to kill himself. So let's say he kills himself. It's kind of like Lee Harvey Oswald. Lee Harvey Oswald shoots the president on Friday. On Sunday morning, he's killed by a patriot named Jack Ruby. And then you have the 1 minute that's missing from the videotape. It just happens every night. I don't know that somebody wasn't in another cell that friggin' got in there and killed him, and then moved him to another cell. A plant. Governments can do anything. They can put anybody in there for any reason. John Doe, we're holding him here, temporarily. We need this, and let's stick him 4 cells away from Epstein, and let's give him a key to where he can get out, or let's get a CO in there who's not really a CO, just wearing a uniform. He undoes a cell, kills him, and then makes it look like a murder. And the next day, the guy's still sitting there, but there's no need to investigate him because he'll be transported the next day. Again, like a log, a flight log. Omissions. And I think about, they were talking about like the Lolita Express, and it was stuff that was in the periphery that when it comes to like crimes of filth, and it turns me off. I mean, I've never been into like true crime, or I mean, there was a time when we had real old fashioned serial killers, and then you had the forensic files, and it was kind of interesting, I guess, but it was just something that was so appalling to me, so evil, and that's not my thing. My thing is nonsense. My thing is bullshit. Nonsense. Sabrina, I still need tickets to your concert in Pittsburgh. A lot of things to digest. Um, if you look at all the YouTube like 10-minute clips or 5-minute clips or 4-minute clips, or you'll get like Trump saying something in front of like a foreign leader, and then you get this and that and that. This is or press secretary answering a question but not answering a question, and all of a sudden it blows up. Well, I mean, these are simple-minded fucking people who were making comments online saying, well, that's because he's on the list, or that's because he's guilty, or we want to know who. Well, you ain't gonna know fucking anything. You're only gonna speculate. But if you don't have the brain fucking, if you don't have the, if you don't have any knowledge of the past and how things work, or if you do, or you're forgotten, or you're just fucking dumb, it's like the NASCAR mentality. It's the same thing that got him fucking elected. He narrowly beat two of the most incompetent, what do you call them, candidates. He narrowly beat Hillary Clinton. I mean, of all people. I mean, she's the most flawed person on the planet, probably. I mean, I don't know her personally. And then he beats whatever in a landslide. Well, it wasn't a friggin' landslide. The day drinker, Harris? Come on, the Black Lives Matter won him the election in 2016. And he wasn't running against anybody this last time. Don't look for Trump as your leader of following up on his campaign promises. Because if you made a campaign promise and you got a really nasty phone call one day, or say a foreign government said, look, tread lightly or you're fucked. They already made 2 attempts on his life. He's got to be walking on eggshells anyway. See what happens in the next few weeks. It'll probably just kind of peter out. I feel bad for the adults that are now having to deal with this because they'll never forget it. And these fucking psychopaths or sociopaths who took place in this kind of stuff, they don't show remorse. They don't have any remorse. It's not like they're going to step forward and say, "Hey, I was guilty," because that's not how their mind works. We don't even know if Epstein was real. I mean, we know he was a person, but we don't know anything about. We really don't know anything about him as a currency. I'm going back to trying to go back to the beginning as a currency trader or an investor, financier. There isn't even any IRS documents where he, as a I think if you're like a hedge fund manager or hedge funds or something, I know what hedge funds are, but I don't know the documents they have to fill out. But it's different than your average taxpayer. They have certain forms, like you fill out a 1099 or 1099K or whatever it is if you're self-employed, you know, excuse me, certain tax forms for certain types of transactions. I don't even know if you fill out any of that. I don't even know if he has a financial record. I don't even know if the IRS has information on him. Half the people probably dead who participated, or they're so fucking old that even if they did see prison, you know, they've already lived their sick life. And they'll just shuffle off into the sunset in shackles and, die of natural causes in 6 months. But if you're bothered by it, subscribe to my channel. If you've gotten this far, thank you. There's a lot to be discussed, but not regular mainstream guys on YouTube or on whatever other platform there is, because these guys aren't main these guys have become mainstream. If you know a name of a guy who has a podcast and he has 10 million subscribers or 100 million subscribers, then he's just part of the mainstream as well. He's not asking any scary questions because he has stuff to lose now. So these people that used to speak truth to power, they're going to watch what they say and do and bring up. They may throw something out there like I'm, pretend angry because of this, but they'll move on to something else because now they're influential and they have connections to people who can probably shut them down or make them look really bad. It's all greed. It's all money. It's all power. Again, we're not dumb. Well, most people are fucking stupid, but those of us who aren't dumb just have no power to change anything, and that's it. But thanks for watching. I feel bad for the people that were exploited. I do. And I've known people who have been abused as children, and I can't imagine it. I can't fathom. I have enough mental issues, and it's been documented since I was a little kid. I mean, I deal with this on a daily basis. Not like violent or tendency or psychoses or any type of like delusions. But I have enough stuff that happened that it still bothers me every day. I can't imagine how you compartmentalize something that was repeatedly done, or something that was they led you on, or you were little, young, 10, 12, 14, however old the people were. I can't even go into that because that makes me ill. There's people going to deal with this the rest of their life. And those are the people that really need to be somehow made to feel as if they still matter. And it's almost like a fucking cold case file that they solved 30 years later. And the parents, they were in their 40s and now they're either one of them is dead or One of them's like 80, and they find out that the daughter was killed in 1975 by somebody who's now 80. Went their whole life not knowing. Well, these people know, and they got to carry this with them the rest of their life. And that I guess that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I will post this, and I'm going to leave it up here for till the very end. I may never touch on it again because it really does truly bother me, or I wouldn't even have done this. If my facts are wrong, which I don't think that they are, but if they are, a lot of it's just some of it's common knowledge, some of it's stuff that I've learned recently, and some of the stuff that I've known forever. But again, thank you, and have a great day. Try not to let this shit bother you. Take care.